Podcast. It's your host, Ed Oliver and Dialante Daniels. Today, we're going to talk about Spencer Dinwiddie. He had a lot of comments. He had a lot to say about his time in DC. We're going to talk about what Kyle Kuzma and Wes Unseld Jr., the way they responded. It's the tale of two stories. We're definitely going to get to the bottom of this because we watched the games, of course, and we know what Wes Unseld Jr. said and Bradley Beal had said to Spencer Dinwiddie. So there's two different sides to the story. We're going to get into that. We're going to also get into the power rankings. The Wizards did move up a little bit. Also, we're going to talk about the West Coast road trip coming up and a little bit about Porzingis. So let's get started.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. All right, so we're just going to do some reading and reacting to what Spencer said. If we did have the audio, we would play the interview. But Spencer Dinwiddie, he has had a couple of good games, so he's been doing a lot of press conferences, and he's had a lot to say, a lot to get off his chest. It's not only Montrezl Harrell had things to say as well. He had the tweet after he got traded. And we all knew that once this trade happened, guys are going to talk. Guys are going to have stuff to say as, you know, the locker room. And Spencer, the rumor that teammates did not like him and that he was a shell of himself. He did look like a shell of himself. He did look like a shell of himself out there. But the way he's been talking, it's like he's been placing blame on the Wizards. And that's where we disagree on the situation, you know. So, but let's get to a quick tweet. So he said the rumors did hurt him. After he got traded, that he got kicked out of the door. He said, I think that's what hurt the most. After a 36-point game, he said, I've never bashed Washington. I've never said an ill thing about the team. In fact, I think the owner, Ted Jones, I think Tommy Shepard, the GM, and I think Bradley Beal for those three kind of collectively decided to give me a contract. They didn't have to pay somebody coming off of an ACL injury. I'm appreciative of that, appreciative of my time there. So to be bashed out on the way out of the door hurt my feelings for sure. I think I'm human, of course. Dinwiddie also goes on to say, I do what I do and I don't do what I'm not supposed to do. That goes 1 through 15. Everybody here follows that type of mentality because we understand to win basketball games, not just in the regular season, but to win in the playoffs. You need that. Talking about the Mavericks now. He said, I was fighting through for those guys, talking about the guys on the Wizards. He said, when the role changed and they wanted me to pass more, they felt like I was scoring a lot. I did that. I took my foot off the gas scoring-wise because that's why they felt. And then here he name drops on some of the guys that they wanted to get more touches. As he says, as he alleges, he says, the team needed to get Kyle Kuzma and KCP and those guys shots. I said, look, I already got paid. This is about y'all trying to get the shots that y'all need, whatever. So to get kind of kicked out of the door was a wild feeling. I hadn't really experienced that before, but I still have nothing ill to say other than, yes, it hurt my feelings. But just like anything else, you become cautiously optimistic about your new situation. So far, it's a great fit. I love what they asked me to do here, which is to get into the paint, and I'm going to continue to do that and continue to try to be of service. Also, he said in the beginning of the season when they were 10-3 or 12-5, he was the guy that hit game winners. He was the guy that hit clutch shots against Boston, against Indiana. He did also say that. The article did not include that, but I did listen to the presser. He did bring that up as well, which is true. He did hit some game winners, but I just want to get your reaction to some of the quotes from Spencer Dinwiddie.
It's true. The part about him hitting big shots, he did. You know, he had some big moments. At one point, I've said before, we was like, oh, he may be the Wizards closer. He's the closer for the Wizards. But what I don't like and what irritates me is this whole, you know, I did nothing wrong. I just got kicked out the door. Where's the accountability? You know, you're telling me they told you to pass the ball more when we have countless quotes that we're going to get to from Wes, Bradley, Beal, the main guy on the team who vouched for you, etc., telling you to be more aggressive. But you're saying they told you to pass more. I'm not understanding. It's a dilemma here. Somebody's lying. And I just don't like this whole I didn't do anything wrong pretty much approach. Like, he didn't say anything about, oh, I could have played better in this aspect though, or be transparent about the fact that he struggled. He did, because he did. He struggled. He played good early, and he was terrible on the ending days of his tenure as a Washington Wizard. And there's no excuse for that. He had all the opportunity in minutes to make shots. What did his role have to do with him bricking all those side step threes, throwing all those grenade passes towards the end of the shot clock, looking like he's allergic to the paint?
Right.
Only having 2 shot attempts in some games and 0 points, and going into the third and fourth quarter. A lot of players are in situations where maybe they're not the best fit, or they don't have the best chemistry with guys, but they still do what they got to do, and they hoop, and then they work. Whatever happens. Stop this whole excuse of the Wizards did this to me and they kicked me out and blah blah blah. Like, bro, your job is to hoop, and you didn't hoop, and you got traded, and it may be a better situation for you. Good, but stop acting like it's all Wizards, bro. Have some accountability in this. You were trash. Simple as that.
Yeah. Bradley Beal did vouch for him, 100%. Dinwiddie, he looked like a shell of himself. Wes, numerous times in press conferences, told him to be aggressive. We'll get to some quotes, that we found from some articles. We remember. We didn't forget. He's trying to paint this picture where, it's the Wizards' fault. They told him to pass the ball to KCP, or they told him to pass the ball to Kyle Kuzma. There were many times where Spencer really should have got yanked, and Wes kept him in forever. The Clippers game where he should have got yanked, where he couldn't stop it. Not only was he bad offensively, but he couldn't stop anybody defensively. A lot of the floaters that he threw up, a lot of the sidestep threes, the grenade shots, he was pounding the ball. The pace was slow. And you look at the Wizards, how they improved. After that, the big reason is point guard play. Ish Smith has been pushing the pace. Tomas has been pushing the pace. Even Neto is pushing the pace. That's a big reason why we're getting better with shooting. We're first place in 3-point percentage since the trade deadline. There's a big reason for that. Spencer, another quote I really didn't like is him saying, "Oh, they need to get shots for Kyle Kuzma and KCP. I already got paid, so it's whatever." That's the attitude that he put out there, and that's kind of the attitude that he definitely showed on the court. It definitely looked like he didn't want to be there at times with the grenade passes and whatnot. So yeah, it really is ridiculous. They asked him to be aggressive numerous times. Honestly, Wes should have made him come off the bench, but he stayed as a starter, and that's why he's playing better with Dallas, because they're asking him to come off the bench, where he's not a number one option. He's not really a number two option. He's a sixth man to come off the bench, and that's where he was best with the Nets. That's a big reason why it didn't work out here. So to hear him say different things like that, and not having the accountability to say, hey, I didn't play well on defense. A lot of my shots weren't falling. I was shooting like 20% from the field. You look at some of the numbers, the 4 games without Bradley Beal before the trade deadline, he had 7 points, 7 assists, and six boards, shooting 25% from the field, 23% from the 3-point line, and 80% from the free throw line. And they went 1-4 in those last 5 games without Bradley Beal. And he played a lot better without Bradley Beal. When he played with Brad, it just didn't work. So, but we're definitely going to get to some more comments about Kyle Kuzma, Wes Unseld Jr. They took the high road in the comments that they heard from Spencer Dinwiddie. So we're going to get to that. But before we do get to that, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. Football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fire coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Now. Check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NBA game with analysis from your local experts. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, D. Do you have the Kuz in Wes Unseld Jr. quotes? If not, then I got them up too.
Yeah, I definitely got it. And before I get to them, I do want to say Spencer Dinwiddie, the name dropping the KCP and Kuzma. I'm counting that as dry snitching, and it makes me wonder how that Montrezl Harrell KCP story got out of the locker room so fast. I
Right.
wonder who ran their mouth and dry snitched a little bit on that. But that's besides the point. We do have some comments here from Kyle Kuzma and Wes Unseld Jr. They took the high road, but you can interpret kind of what they meant. Wes Unseld Jr. When he was asked about players' role in Spencer Dinwiddie, he said, "I'm not going to get into the accuracy of that statement. It's one of those things where organizationally it worked, and he was aggressive early. We won a lot of games. Bottom line, we had to make a change, and to get something, we had to give up something. He's a really talented guy. He's playing well, and he's healthy. We look forward to seeing the benefit of that trade. It is what it is. I think it's one of those things where we just have to move on and get past it." Kyle Kuzma also took the high road as well. He said, "I'm sure if you go back to tidbits, I know I always said I wanted him to be aggressive. I know Brad always wanted to see him be aggressive, so I'm just going to leave it at that. We're past that, honestly. We're focused on the guys that are here, and we're all motivated to take that next step." And Kyle Kuzma's right. Bradley Beal, I looked at some old tweets back on December 16th. He said, "Obviously, I would love for him to be more aggressive, and I've told him that plenty of times." So this isn't anything new. Wes Unseld Jr. also spoke on Spencer Dinwiddie being more aggressive. I mean, he said this is going back to December 3rd. He said that probably is a question for Spencer, asking on, he was asked about if he wanted Spencer to be more aggressive. He said, "I would think he has to be more aggressive, especially early in the game. I know as a point guard, a lot of times you want to set the table, kind of get guys involved, and I think we can do both. I love to see him be a little bit more aggressive. That doesn't mean hunt shots, but a little more aggressive with his thrust up the floor, attacking, getting to the line, but just to get that started sooner." But apparently, the Wizards just wanted him to pass the ball more, and that's it. I don't know, Ed.
Yeah, a lot of it's not adding up. Like you said, I'm happy that Wes and Kuz, they took the high road. They're not going to get into that. They're not going to point the finger and he said, she said kind of stuff. The one thing he says that when the role changed and they wanted me to pass more, they felt like I was scoring a lot. He only had a couple games where he really scored a lot of points. Those were only the games without Bradley Beal, to be honest. There wasn't many games where he went off for like 25, 30. I remember the Indiana game, he had 36. But other than that, it was pretty pedestrian. I remember the Hornets game where he did take a lot of shots against LaMelo Ball. And he put up a donut and had 0 points. I do remember some of the games where he had some underwhelming games where he did shoot the ball a lot, and they just weren't falling for him. And then when he got sat down, other guys played, but Aaron Holiday had some games where he outplayed him. Paul Neto had some games where he outplayed him. The offense was moving faster. The pace was getting pushed. We played better when he was not playing. The Jazz game when he got sat down, that's a game we won in Utah. That was a game where we were underdogs. But guess what? Aaron Holiday came in and brought a different dimension to the roster. Pushed the pace, and we played a lot better. Like you said, Bradley Beal, obviously I would love for Spencer Dinwiddie to be more aggressive, and I've told him that plenty of times. Bradley Beal has told him that. And Spencer, he was probably emotionally hurt as well when he tried to step up and be a leader, and guys didn't receive that well because he said that in the presser too. So, that probably hurt his ego as well. A lot of guys just had ego on the roster. So that probably hurt him too. He keeps saying that, being kicked out of the door, he was hurt. Him and Bertans, they needed to be kicked out the door. After the way they played, the fit, they both deserve to be kicked out of the door. And I'm happy we brought in Porzingis. I think it's a win-win for both sides. I said that it's fair to say the Wizards won. I was kind of just joking about it. I know a lot of Mavericks fans went crazy because I tweeted that. But I think if you look at it, both sides, Spencer, the fit is he's a six man. When he was good with the Nets, he was a six man. I think Bradley Beal as a GM, he probably evaluated it wrong. I did too. I was happy when we brought Spencer in. Just looking at the surface, seeing that he was a scorer, he's going to get buckets. But the way he's playing well with the Mavericks right now, he's a six man. And we wanted Wes Unseld Jr. to switch it up and bring him off the bench. Him and Brad together was not working. He needed to come off the bench. Wes never did that. Now, I do fault Wes for that a little bit, trying to switch up the line. We asked Wes to switch the lineup numerous times, and he did not. But yeah, just Spencer coming out and singing this song and painting this picture, as Wizards fans, we know that's not true. But of course, the national media and a lot of, fans of Dallas, they're going to take that and run with it.
Yeah. And like I said, it's an issue on both sides. It wasn't all Spencer's fault.
Right.
And it wasn't all of the Washington Wizards' fault. So it's like in any relationship. You talk about boyfriend, girlfriend. It's never just one side. It's always you could have did something better probably, and she could have did something better probably. But the way Spencer was just making it seem is just all Wizards. And I mean, if he has if his attitude was, well, I got paid, so it's whatever. Y'all go ahead and get y'all's.
Terrible.
I can understand why his leadership probably wasn't met with, oh yeah, I want to get behind this guy, Mr. Oh, I got paid, so all right, go ahead and get y'all's then.
Right.
I mean, what kind of mindset is that? But
yeah, and then they wanted to sit him for 15 games. Of course, he declined. We don't know how true this is. Maybe because the stipulation in his contract is that he has to play 50 games each year. So of course he turned down that 15 game sit down. He's like, no, I want to play these 50 games so I can get this guaranteed money that I got coming up because they had all those incentives in this contract. But yeah, like you said, that's not a good leader saying, oh, I got paid, so y'all go ahead and do what y'all want to do. That's the worst thing in leadership. And a lot of guys were on that agenda. Bradley Beal said it himself. A lot of guys on 1-year deals trying to get paid. The rotation was crazy as well. Not all of it's on Spencer. Some of it is on Wes. Some of it's on Brad too. There's a lot of, blame to go around. But for him to come out there and say this, that he's heard he got kicked out the door when he earned to get kicked out the door. He earned that right. So it's just, it's a little frustrating to hear this. But, like I said, I'm ready to move on. I'm happy Kristaps is here. Hopefully he stays healthy. It can be a win-win for both teams. But we had to get those guys out the door.
Yeah, it was just time for a change. And like you said, it could be one of those things where is a good trade for Washington and it's a good trade for Dallas. I mean, at the end of the day, somebody needed to go, and that's what happened. I mean, it's as simple as that. The locker room was just toxic. It was bad energy in there. And it was good for both parties to go their separate ways.
Right. Yeah. So, but we do want to get to the power rankings real quick. The Wizards did move up one spot. It doesn't really matter much, but I do want to read what the article said on NBA.com. I thought that was very telling of what's going on right now. It says the Wizards lost a big game on Friday against the Hawks, which they did, which was a very winnable game. But they're still only two games behind Charlotte, Brooklyn, and Atlanta for the play-in spot. Plus, they now have Kristaps Porzingis, who made his debut on Sunday and scored 25 points in a little more than 21 minutes in a win over the Pacers. He played exclusively at the 5 spot. Thomas Bryant was a DNP, which we talked about, and he had more free throw attempts in those 21 minutes, 10, than the Wizards had as a team 2 nights earlier. That was huge. They said Porzingis' first bucket on Sunday on the first possession of the game was assisted by Kyle Kuzma, who has averaged 4.3 minutes of possession and a team-high 6.4 assists over the last 10 games since the Wizards traded Spencer Dinwiddie, up from 2.4 minutes and 2.8 assists prior to that. Over those 10 games, the Wizards have scored 11 more points per 100 possessions with Kuzma on the floor than they have with him on the bench. The Wizards have potentially big games in Atlanta and Charlotte in the final week of the season, but they have more games remaining against the West than they have against the East. They've lost their last 6 against the opposite conference, set to begin a 4-game trip in LA on Wednesday. Any thoughts on the article?
It sounds good. It sounds about right. Before we started recording, I thought the Wizards, I said they were 22, and they ended up being 21. They moved up from 22, but yeah, they middle of the pack team, not the worst, not the best. Kind of like, lose a couple games, win a couple games. So that West Coast trip will be big. Looking at the standings right now, Kate Cunningham just made his second free throw with 1.2 seconds left in the fourth, so the Pistons are up 101-100 as we speak. So that's big if you're looking at, playing watch, if you want playing watch. So that West Coast trip is big, though. They got the Clippers coming up next. That won't be an easy task, even though I know they just got blew out by the struggling New York Knicks. The Knicks finally found a way to win a game. But I'm sure the Clippers will be coming and looking for revenge. And the Wizards got to revenge themselves, man, for that 35-point debacle, at the end of the day. So standings, power rankings, sounds about right. All in all.
21st, yeah. So the next couple games, the West Coast road trip coming up, and tomorrow we have Aaron Soroka coming on to talk about Denny. He's very well known, talking basketball from Israel. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that episode. So today we're going to go over some of the next games. We would do it tomorrow, but like I said, we do have a special guest to talk about Denny.
Mm-hmm.
We played the West Coast road trip on Wednesday. We played the Clippers in LA, and then we played the Lakers in LA, of course. On Friday night, we have a back-to-back Friday and Saturday, and then we play the Warriors. So those next 4 games, how you feeling about those games, and what's your record prediction for the next 4?
Next 4 games. Let me get them on my monitor here. Okay. Clippers. I think they lose to the Clippers. I'm sorry. Yeah. Lakers. I think they lose to the Lakers. I think they start off 0-2. Portland. They snatch a dub. Golden State. They catch an L. I think they go 1-3 on this trip. They can beat the Clippers. They can beat the Lakers. Those are winnable games, even though LeBron and the Wizards he does terrible things to us. So I don't really like going against LeBron, but oh no, man, I'm seeing 1-3, but I could see them getting a dub against the Clippers. I could see an L in Lakers still, I would say dub in Portland, L. So I could see 2-2. I say 1-3, 2-2. One of those. I think I'm confident about that. 1-3 or 2-2.
Yeah, we did sweep the Lakers last year. We did beat them with LeBron in LA. I remember Denny strapped up LeBron in the clutch. Russ had a good game. Brad had a good game. So we've had some good games against LeBron as of late. Of course, through the whole career has been rough. Just whispering in Gilbert's ear and whatnot. I hate it when that happen. But all the games are winnable. Like the Clippers, the Lakers aren't playing good ball right now. They're losing to the Spurs. The Blazers are, they're 25-38. They're not a good team. We can't really say anybody's not a good team. And the Warriors actually have not been playing well either. They just lost to the Lakers. They lost like 10 out of their last 13, if I'm not mistaken. They got some Draymond's been out in and out of the lineup. Klay Thompson's still getting his feet wet and getting back in the lineup. They got a couple guys out. I think Andre Iguodala, he's 50 years old now. He's not playing. But they're vulnerable. I'll say that. And we beat the Warriors. We swept the Warriors twice last year. We swept the Warriors last year too. And it doesn't mean anything at all. But the Clippers, we got to get our revenge. I have us losing to the Clippers. The Clippers are actually playing pretty well right now. They're 34-32, and they've won a couple of their last games. Reggie Jackson has been on a tear. And they got some bigs. They're gonna try to be more physical with Porzingis, like Zubac, Marcus Morris, guys like that. But I still think he should win that matchup. The Lakers, that's a really winnable game too. They have not been playing good ball. I'm gonna say we lose to the Clippers, we beat the Lakers, we beat the Blazers, and we lose to the Warriors. I'm gonna go 2-2.
So you say 2-2? Okay, yeah, I think 2-2 is realistic. Yeah. Like I said, I could see them beating the Clippers. I would say maybe beat the Clippers, lose to the Lakers. I don't know. One of those games, one of those LA games can be a dub. So I'd say 2-2. If they get 3-1, I'd be impressed. If they get 4-0, I'd be shocked. So 2-2 sounds good. And before we end it off, Ed, score update. The Pistons fouled John Collins with like 1.6 seconds left, and he made one free throw and missed the other, so they're heading to OT. So
the Pistons are taking.
No, yeah.
They're taking, so they're gonna lose. But what impressed you the most before we do wrap up? What impressed you the most from Kristaps Porzingis last night, and what do you want to see from him on the 4-game trip?
Just the gravity, the attention that he demands down there. If he has. Because he's usually always going to have a size matchup unless, Gobert's down there, Capella's down there, Joel's down there, etc. But against other guys, like against the Pacers, he'll be able to take advantage of those mismatches, have that size advantage, and just have that gravity towards him and leave other guys open. And it's going to be real dangerous if Bradley Beal, who I expect to return, is there and it takes a lot of pressure off him. It takes a lot of pressure off Kuzma. He already spoke about that. So I say the thing I was most impressed about was just the attention he drew, man. I haven't seen a big on the Wizards draw attention like that in, I don't know, maybe since I've been a fan.
Right. Yeah, Bradley Beal, yeah. I think this definitely is – he's going to stay anyway, but this definitely will give him some more incentive to stay. And I'm excited to see him and Kuz and Porzingis play together. I really want to see the chemistry with him and Kuz and Denny. I think him and Denny can have a good pick and roll, pick and pop. Same thing with Kyle Kuzma. Of course, just want to see him stay healthy. What impressed me is the same thing with you two. Just the way he attracted a double team. He was able to pass and had that hockey assist. Like you said, we just don't have a lot of guys that command a double team and that teams have the game plan for. And it felt like we actually made a team adjust to us instead of adjusting to a team. So it felt good for once. So I just want to see him knock down some threes, run the floor, get a couple dunks, block shots, rim protect. We need a rim protector. And it helps Gafford come off the bench too. I think Gafford's better off coming off the bench. But yep, we'll just wrap it up there. We just had to get the truth here out of the Spencer Dinwiddie situation because he's been running wild with stuff, and we know Kuz and Wes are going to take the high road, so we definitely had to set everything straight.
Yeah, it's just the take some accountability. That's all I ask. It wasn't all your fault, Spence. I agree. Some things could have been better. You looking good in Dallas. I'm not the type of guy to wish anybody to play bad. If you hoop, you hoop. If you don't, you don't. That's how I look at it. But let's not act like, the Wizards told me to stop being aggressive, blah, blah, blah. And then me reading all these comments saying the complete opposite thing of what you're saying they told you to do. Stop the boy cry, the world against me type of thing. I don't know. Stop that.
Right. Definitely. But we just want to thank you guys for listening. Make sure you guys subscribe to us on YouTube and hit the notification bell as well. And thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NBA. Locked On experts covering the biggest stories around the NBA every Monday through Friday in less than 30 minutes. It's free and available wherever you get a podcast. Hail to the Wizards.